Yes, building wealth. Shankar Poncelet here, and tonight we're going to talk a little bit about wealth and what that means and how you build it. Because, yes, I do quite know a lot about wealth because I care about wealth. A lot of things in life are so much easier if you are rich. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people say money doesn't matter, but it does matter. And we're going to talk a little bit about what I did to build up wealth gradually throughout my life. And we're also going to think about how you can build wealth. I'm going to focus primarily on your ability to build assets. To build up assets, meaning when you talk about accounting, you have assets that are worth something, and then on the other side, you have liabilities that are the exact opposite of you storing value. It represents you being in debt, owing something to someone else. Now, a lot of you think that it is not possible to build up wealth other than for people who are rich. And that is a very, very grave misconception, because I will prove to you that you can build assets, you can build wealth, and you can do it at any given time throughout your life. Deal? All right. So, first of all, what is the most important asset we have as human beings? The very most important asset. Type it in the comments right now if you know it. Yes, your guess was right. It is our health. Because if we are not healthy, we cannot enjoy anything in life. It's very difficult. You can have all the options, all the possibilities, all the money. You can have all of that, but if you are not in good health, if you don't have a body that carries you throughout this beautiful life, then all your money and all your wealth has no worth. So really, investing in yourself starts with understanding that you need to be healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. So that starts with surrounding yourself with healthy people mentally, exposing your mind to healthy content mentally, being introspective about life, being grateful, learning from religions and other teachings that give you a foundation of belief, of faith in life, spiritually. And then, of course, physically working out, getting your exercise, and very, very important, eating healthy foods. Eating healthy foods, for me, that was very, very important because a few years, well, it's actually been quite some time ago now. It was in 2002, I was diagnosed with what was supposed to be a crippling disease that would put me in the wheelchair. Never happened. Never happened because I decided to be in charge of my own health. So I made lifestyle changes, and I also started having predominantly a vegan and vegetarian diet. So no matter where you are in life, you can always start investing in your mental, physical, and spiritual health. Especially investing in your physical health is going to be very, very important, because you will save so much money down the line if you are in good health. Because depending on where you live in the world, health care and access to health care is not cheap. Therefore, if you think about building up wealth and building up assets, start there. Anyone can make small changes in what they eat, who they spend their time with, and what kind of thoughts they expose themselves spiritually. Then, the next asset you can invest in that also is open to just about anyone is knowledge and education. I don't think it is just a coincidence that almost any country in the world, almost any civilization out there, puts great emphasis on educating their children, giving them knowledge, teaching them how to operate a trade, teaching them skills. All of that is very important. Now, we can have opposing opinions about how valuable our traditional schooling system is, but I think we all agree that if you build up skills, if you build up knowledge that you can transfer into changing the world, that is very valuable. And that is also coincidentally what really enabled me to start making money very early in life. Very early in life, I discovered that by being smart, you can use that smartness and transfer it into money. I started tutoring at a very early age. I believe I was 15 when I had my first student. And I tutored in mathematics, in French, in German, in economics, in English. So anyone at any given point in their lives can start learning. There's no excuse, especially not with the internet nowadays. Now, let's say you start investing in your health and in your all forms of health and also in your mind. At some point, you're going to have your first job, and then you are faced with an income that you get. You get a salary, and you have a decision on what to do with that. Or maybe like nowadays, it's a hybrid situation. A lot of people have a salary and then they partake in the gig economy. They might be an Uber driver or a DoorDash driver, or they do any other kind of task within the gig economy. The other option that I see quite often is being a mix, a blend between an employee and also self-employed. And then, of course, I know a lot of entrepreneurs. I am a very successful and passionate entrepreneur. So, of course, a lot of people I spend time with are entrepreneurs. But you're going to have some form of income, and you have to decide what to do with that income. Now, of course, we all need to cover basics. Rent, groceries, car note, utilities, that kind of thing. And the importance here is to always live below your means so that you have a little bit money left to invest into assets. And the living below the means thing is a little complicated, isn't it? Because we have access to credit cards, we have access to student loans, and we live in a society where everything kind of needs to happen right away. So that is a problem in itself that I won't discuss and won't be able to solve here. But know that for a long, long time, I have definitely always lived very strongly below my means because I wanted to build up a cushion, a financial cushion early in life so that later I could do a few cool things, such as immigrate, leave Luxembourg, go to the United States, and be fine. Be fine. But one of the first things you're most likely going to invest in is you're going to have a savings account. And also, depending on where you live in the world, your government will force you to make payments into some form of social system that provides you a retirement income when you are ready for that phase in your life. But that's all far away, right? For most of you. Some of you it's not, but for most of you, I assume. So it is important to start saving money. Put money aside and leverage the power of interest and compounding. I'm sure you've all heard that. You can put money into an account, you get X amount of interest on it, and then you let that grow. You keep adding to the pot, you let it grow. And even with very modest interest rates, my dear friends, you can really tap into a very large savings down the line. If you start early, if you start in your teens, or if your parents and you start that for your children early, you can guaranteed, most of you can guaranteed be millionaires at some point. So very important. Now, one aspect that I do want to touch on is the world of decentralized finance. So when I grew up, there were only traditional banks, and the traditional banks have a lot of overhead. They have buildings, they have employees, they have systems, and all of that is a huge cost factor in their balance sheets, right? So they can't give you a lot of interest on your savings. Nowadays, there is a nascent group of decentralized finance enthusiasts, and I'm part of one of those. And there's decentralized banks, community banks, and you can partake in those and get much higher yield and interest on your savings. Now, that is something I will probably talk a lot about a lot more in future videos because it's just I'm so passionate about it. But let's go back to what you can do to build up wealth. So you have your savings accounts, you start them early in life, you live below your means, you understand the power of interest and compounding interest, and you make sure that you always have a nice financial cushion compared to your overall circumstances. I have always been in that situation where I had my rainy day fund being money that covers all your expenses for at least 3 months. That is a rainy day fund. I have never lived without one after being 15 years old. Never. Then most of you, the next move you'll make most likely is buy a car. And a lot of you will buy a car that's too expensive because you get a car loan, because it's easy to get a car loan because the lender can use the car as a security, as a safety, right? They put a lien on the title, and then when you don't pay your car note, they can take the car, and then that's how they have a security. But it's very, very key that you don't buy a car that's too expensive at the beginning. Buy a second-hand car. Don't buy a new car. Buy a pre-owned car and do that at the beginning of your adulthood. Listen, I like cars. As a matter of fact, I just ordered the Tesla Cybertruck. And right now, currently, I have an electric vehicle, the electric Mustang. So I like cars. I understand that. But everything in due time. At the beginning is not so important. Actually, it's never very important. A car is a luxury that unless it is an exotic car, it immediately loses value, right? You know, it comes out of the dealership and the value is gone. Then you're going to be faced with renting or owning a home. Now, this really depends on your income class and the economic circumstances, but know that really both approaches can be very valid. Renting is kind of smart if it keeps your cash flow low and you use the access to save. And owning is equally smart if you invest into real estate. Real estate is never a bad idea, but it is not the best thing since sliced bread. It is a very non-liquid form of investment, right? And also there comes a lot of responsibility and a lot of stability with it. A lot of people nowadays want to be very mobile. They want to be digital nomads. So it wouldn't make too much sense for them to own a home. But again, you either rent below your means or you invest into a home. Throughout my life, I have bought and sold several real estate buildings, several houses. I'm actually flipping real estate right now as an investor. I'm not good with my hands. I'm not like going into houses and transform and remodel, but I offer people who do that some financing. But the key is that you have to make that decision based on where you are at and based on how you see your future. And a lot of people, this is the thing about real estate, a lot of people think that they absolutely have to purchase a house, an apartment, that buying their home is important. And I have a problem with that because it's not the case. There are other investment possibilities that you can do that are just, you can invest a fraction of it and you have a way more liquid asset in your pocket or in your virtual pocket, right? So again, real estate is fine, but it's not a must. There's nothing wrong with renting, but again, living below your means and then investing into assets. There's two forms of assets. There's assets that just store value, and then there are assets that have value and the value grows over time, so it adjusts to inflation. And then there are also income-producing assets. So I'll briefly talk about a few that I really like and that I think you should consider. So first of all, I am a huge fan. Okay, we have covered the savings accounts, right? Now, I'm a huge fan of cryptocurrency. So most of you will recognize this here, this bee. It's a little Bitcoin bee. And I purchased some Bitcoin when one Bitcoin was $2,000. And now you know that one Bitcoin is around $45,000. Matter of fact, the SEC just approved the Bitcoin ETF. So those numbers, some experts expect them to 10x. We don't know, But all I can say is I have already made plenty of money with Bitcoin because I was in there so early. And I think you should still consider cryptocurrency. I think you should, if you are new to cryptocurrency, I think you should try some Bitcoin because it's the easiest one to understand. By the way, my computer just went into sleep mode, so I hope I'm back. Okay, I'm back. All right, Bitcoin. And by the way, the Bitcoin is stored on something like this. This is a hardware wallet where the Bitcoin is stored. Okay. It can also be stored online. A lot of you might have heard of Coinbase, which is an online exchange. And what you can also do is upload your United States dollar, convert it into Bitcoin, and store it there. So that's that. Then something that I really like as well is precious metals, right? So I have a kilogram of silver here, and of course the value of this right now I believe is around $800. So no matter what happens, I always have something that I can take and go to a precious metal dealer and say, here I want to exchange this for money, for US dollars, if I needed to, right? The reason I like it is because it is very resistant to inflation. If the dollar all of a sudden, for whatever reason, lost its buying power, this would compensate, because then I would go into the precious metal dealer and whatever the inflation was, if the inflation was in some crazy case 50%, then this would no longer be worth $800, but $1,200, right? Silver. And of course, gold. Okay, I have a gold necklace here. And here I have 2 gold coins. So this is a French 20-cent gold coin, and there's a second one. And each one of these coins are worth $500, roughly. Now, I did not purchase these 2 gold coins. These 2 gold coins were purchased by my grandfather. So this is a perfect example of showing how he invested into an asset that transcended 2 generations, right? And I'm sure when he bought this, probably in the 1940s or 50s is my guess, when he bought these, it was cheaper, right? Relatively speaking. And now I can exchange them over the years. The price of gold has risen because gold is rare. And now this here is $1,000 roughly. Here are also 4. Here are 4 silver coins, okay? And each coin has the value of about $20. Now, you can also invest into utilities that are luxury. Now, this is if you have reached a certain level of wealth already, okay? Most of you may not be in that place yet because you have other more important things to take care of than invest in luxury. But here's the interesting thing. There are brands in the world of luxury that keep their value. In other words, it is still an investment, an asset. If you buy, for instance, a Mont Blanc pen like this one, given to me by my good friend and mentor John Lee, by the way, you have an asset. Also, recently, I invested into another asset, which is this watch here, which is a Rolex Daytona anno 1995, and the value of this watch is about $35,000. And in 5 to 10 years, the value of this watch will have at least increased by 10%. Even though it gets older and older, it's an investment. Now, it's not a very liquid investment because if I needed the money out of that, I would have to find a buyer, right? But the point here is I want to open your mind to building assets, investing into assets. Now let's talk about the income generating asset classes. Okay, a very easy way to do that nowadays is by invest into the stock market. Now, if you don't know anything about the stock market, you could just invest into a fractional share of the S&P 500. If you have a mobile phone and you can download the Cash app, then you can easily invest into a fractional share of the S&P 500, and you automatically invest into the top 500 companies in the United States. Something that I also like, actually, as an investment vehicle is annuities. There's life insurances. And to stay with the income-producing assets, you can also, in the world again of decentralized finance, you can purchase ownership in online companies or online concepts. And one of those pieces of ownerships that I have recently invested in is an NFT, a non-fungible token that represents a share in one of those community banks that happen within the decentralized realm, decentralized finance realm. And by holding this NFT, I have the nominal value of the NFT, and also that bank pays me interest every year based on its treasury. Okay, so there are so many options. And then also very, very important, I have a stake in several businesses. One of them, by the way, is this one. This is the most recent business I have gained a stake in, ugrow.club, which is a very important business because it teaches people and businesses how to be more visible online, which is super important if you have knowledge to share. If you have that you believe in something, you have a business that you want to grow, super, super important. And by the way, at any given point in time, if you go to that address here, ugrow.club, you'll find a opportunity to learn from us, a master class or a challenge. So I hope that with this video, you have understood that there's never really an excuse not to invest into assets. Even if you have no money, you start with your health and your education. And then as you live below your means, which you should always do, always live below your means, you slowly, that living below your means starts looking nicer and nicer and nicer. At some point, you can afford your Rolex watch, you can have your silver bar, you can order your Tesla, and all of that good stuff. Now, set yourself an intention that in this year, you'll start building up assets. No matter what asset it is, and let me know in the comments. I'm very curious. And that's it for now. Bye bye.